she been gone so long, she been gone, gone, gone so long. Gone, 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 she been gone so long, she been gone, gone, gone so long. Gone, 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 she been gone so long, she been gone, gone, gone so long. Gone, 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 she been gone so long, gone, 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 gone so long.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1690 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Yes, we are open. An award-winning podcast from Monaris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego. Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball. Join me May 11th at Christie Pitts for TMLX 18. Ayami Sato becomes the first woman in our country to pitch against a professional men's team. I can't wait. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Building Toronto's Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Iones, sponsored by Fusion Corp Construction Management Inc. and Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today, making his Toronto Mic'd debut, is the founder and lead singer of Chilliwack, Bill Henderson. Hello, Bill.
Hey, man. How are you doing, Mike?
Good, man. Where do we find you today?
I'm at home on Salt Spring Island, BC.
And that's why you're not in my South Etobicoke basement.
Oh, that's where you are.
Yeah.
You've been hiding all this time in your basement. Come on.
Listen, I got to ask you right off the top. Is it true? Is it correct what I'm reading? Chilliwack is on their farewell tour?
Finally, eh?
Well, say it ain't so, Bill. Why are you ending this era?
It's time. It's just time. You know, if you know anyone who's 80 years old, they could probably tell you. No, it's time. It's like I can still do everything I need to do on stage, and I really have a great time doing it. So I feel it's a great relationship with the audience going on right now, and I want to end on a high note. I want it to be going well, and it's time. It's good.
Well, you're the boss. If you say it's time, it's time. But let me just give you kudos. Your website is gonegone.com. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That's a nice title, eh? Gonegone.com. I like that.
And later in this chat, I'll tell you now and then I'll revisit it later. But it's a common occurrence that my girl gets stuck in my head. Like, that earworm kind of buries itself deep in my brain and it won't go away. Like, I think of that song all the time.
Wow. I'm sorry, man.
I'm sending you my therapy bills.
Yeah. That song, I didn't even want it to come out as a single because, whatever. I had my reasons. It's not unusual. People, the work they do and they go, oh, that sucks, right? Anyway, the record company said, this is a hit. We're putting it out, right? So I'm driving down the road one day in Vancouver and I've got the radio. No, I don't have the radio on. I got a Volkswagen convertible. I'm driving down the road, beautiful sunny day. It's probably June or July, something like that. And I get down to the end of the road. There's construction happening, and there's a flag girl there, and she's got a transistor radio. This was 82, hanging from the door of the trailer that has the gear in it, and she's out dancing in the middle of the road. And I don't know what she's listening to. And as I get closer, I can hear it's our song. and she's dancing all over the road. That's when I knew the song really had something,
Oh
right?
man, the kids would tell you that's catchy AF. That's what they tell you.
Catchy a what?
AF.
Oh.
Yeah, I can. It's my show. I can swear. I could tell you, catchy as fuck. That's what that means. The kids are.
Oh,
This is
catchy as
the.
fuck.
Yeah, it's just.
That's what it is.
That's what it is, man. Okay, we're gonna get to that here, but let me just tell the GTA listeners right off the top that it's last call, man. The big Toronto farewell is at Massey Hall on May 22nd. So if you want tickets, do it now. There's no tomorrow here. GoneGoneGone.com is where you go, and you can buy your tickets for Massey Hall on May 22nd.
Right on. That's it.
How many times have you played Massey Hall?
I think this would be the third time probably. And we last time we played was in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
We played it a couple times in the 70s when we were. It's funny that we got to do it because we didn't have much in the way of hits. So Lonesome Mary and Reno was a well-known song. And we just we had a great time there. I love playing theaters like that. That's one of the things we've set up for this tour right across the country is it's mostly theaters. And there's just something that can happen there. I like the way the lighting works. I like the proximity to the crowd. The relationship with the audience is so important. I love it. It's great.
Since you mentioned it, I got a bunch of questions that came in for you. One is from Rick. Hello to Rick A. He wants to know what inspired you to do that cover of Arms of Mary.
Oh yeah. We were looking for a hit. We had the last thing we'd had in the way of a hit was Four Men in a Rock and Roll Band, Fly at Night.
Right.
Fly at Night and Baby Blue, those were on the Dreams album, and they were hits, and we were trying to make the follow-up record. And this is the story of our career. It's an up and down situation. So we had been up, it was really good. Okay, now follow up on that, make it just a little bit tougher. Okay, all right. So we get in there and we're just bombing right, left, and center. We recorded the album that Arms of Mary is on 3 times. The third time they got a producer from LA to come up, Rick Gilliton, and he brought that song and said, "You guys should do this. It sounds like you, and you should do it." And yeah, it worked really well for us. It's a great song. The people love it. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. By the way, Fly at Night, that's got to be a classic rock staple that's still played on every, classic rock station in the country at least once a day.
Yeah, it really is. It's funny how it's emerged. It's emerged even with and maybe even a little above Gone Gone. For the audience, it's bigger somehow. I don't know. It's interesting.
4 men in a rock and roll band, fly at night, in the morning we land. Fly at night till we're satisfied, see the morning from the other side. And when you close your eyes, sleep comes first. When you fly the universe, well, you need some rest. Yeah, you need some rest. Ooh, we like the big wide spaces. Yeah, we like a sea of faces. Time is just a rubber band. Time is at our command. And when we look out and see it there, is like a rocket flight, and baby, that's just what it's for. You fly by night, it makes you feel alright. You keep coming back for more. Four men in a rock and roll band. Fly at night, in the morning we land. Fly at night till we're satisfied. See the morning from the other side.
Well, it's good to have multiple big jams, right? It's good to have some diversity there. But I'll tell you, when I said you were coming on, and I had a lot of people who want to ask Chilliwack questions, but Robert Lawson, so shout out to Robert Lawson. He's like, no, man, you got to ask him about the Collectors. So let's go back a bit before my time. I'm like itching to learn here, but can you tell me about who are the Collectors, how you ended up in the Collectors, and how that evolves into Chilliwack?
Okay. Yeah, we started out as the house band at the Torch Cabaret in Vancouver. And it was a place where everybody got drunk. They danced to R&B. They wanted R&B hits, and lots of people got drunk, and there were fights, and it was just like, I mean, it was one of those, right? So we started writing our own songs and putting them in the set. And luckily, we didn't get thrown out of the club, and we managed to get a record deal. Went down to LA and made our first record. It was called Looking at a Baby, came out in 1967, and it went to number 3 on Chum. And Chum in those days was the Canadian Billboard Top 40. Chum's Top 40 was Canada's Top 40. So we were number 3 with our first single, which is pretty amazing.
Look at her, baby, what do you see? What do you see? Looking at her, baby, I can see the world the way that I would like the world to be. Innocent and pure and clean, just like a newborn baby. Look at her, lady, what do you see? What do you see? Looking at her, lady, I can see the girl the way that I would like the girl to be. Warm and tender, faithful, true, just like a well-born lady.
It's Friday, May 9th, if you're listening on Drop Day, and that means this Sunday is not only Mother's Day, much love to the mothers in the TMU, but it's also the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball home opener at Christie Pitts. And Ayami Sato, who I had the pleasure of meeting last night, is going to make her first start in Canada against professional men baseball players. This is historical. We're going to have a TMLX 18 coinciding with this event at Christie Pitts. So if you can hear my voice right now, make your way to Christie Pitts at 1:30 p.m. on Sunday and find me and a bunch of FOTMs beyond the left field fence. We'll have a great hang and take in some history. Maybe I'll share some fun facts about my lengthy discussion with Snow last night. So be there, 1:30 Sunday, Christie Pitts, TMLX 18. Back to Bill from Chilliwack.
We then did an album with the Collectors. We did 2 albums with the Collectors. We played with the Doors. We went down to LA, and we played in the States a lot. Doors, Cream, Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, Canned Heat, Jeff Beck with Rod Stewart, Vanilla Fudge, Santana, 10 Years After, Procol Harum, on and on and on. It's just we played with everybody and we did really well. We used to blow the headliners off the stage a lot of times. And in fact, by the time we reached the early 70s, there was a journalist in Vancouver because we'd had so many great shows where we were opening for a touring act that was coming in. It was a big act, right? And we'd kind of blow them off the stage. And this guy suggested actually put in writing, and then the newspaper came out and it said there should be an insurance policy for American and British bands that are coming to Vancouver that have to follow Chilliwack.
Hey, but were you Chilliwack yet, or are you still the Collectors here?
We we were Chilliwack by that time.
Okay.
And so we became Chilliwack really in 69, but our first album was in 1970. So we always call it 1970. The band started.
So what's it like looking at a baby though when you're still the Collectors? Number 3 on the Chum charts. I know how big a deal that is. I know about the Chum Bugs. I have these cats on the program to talk about what was going on at 1050 Chum. Like that must be a big deal for young Bill.
It was a big deal, yeah. And first time I heard our song on the radio, which of course wasn't in Toronto because I lived in Vancouver at the time, but I phoned up the DJ. I phoned him up and said, "Hey man, thanks for playing our record," right? He says, "That's a great record."
Hey, were there CanCon rules back then?
No.
See, to me, that's extra points, right? Like they're not looking
Yeah, I
for like
know.
a beaver, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
were you the vocalist in the Collectors?
No, I was the guitarist and songwriter, one of the songwriters. We wrote together. Howie Vickers is the lead singer, and Claire Lawrence was the sax and keyboard player. And Claire, Howie, and I were the songwriters basically for the group. And we had an album. Our first album for the Collectors had an 18-minute opus on side two. It was called the What Love Suite. And it's something we played a lot. And in those days, FM was just starting. Like KSAN in San Francisco was one of the first FM stations on the continent, and they played the What Love Suite like it was a hit. They played it like once or twice a day.
Wow. Well, you know why? Because those DJs, they needed to take a pee break and they needed to smoke a dart or two.
They're so old, right?
That 18 minutes, it's like Indigada Vita. Like, I need a break here.
Yeah, we did it before them.
I love it, man.
We do.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Howie leaves the Collectors, and then you
Yeah.
guys are like, we're gonna, you'll start singing, and you're gonna rename this band. Like, how do you come up with the name Chilliwack? I mean, I know Chilliwack is a city, but like, what made you decide this is the name for our band?
Well, couple things. One, naming the Collectors was such an awful experience. We spent weeks trying to name, and finally, the record company, when they're looking at a baby, they've mixed it. We're back in Vancouver. They're in LA. They've mixed it. Now they're printing labels, and they phone us up and guys, we're printing labels. What's your name? Okay, here you go. You got a choice. You're the Connection or the Collectors. Make up your mind. We chose the Collectors, right? So anyway, it was an experience we didn't want to repeat. So when we needed a new name, no one was very enthusiastic. The drummer, Ross, he finally on some road trip, we were driving through the mountains, whatever. He says, "Hey, why don't we call ourselves Chilliwack?" And the rest of us went, "What?" And he went, "Yeah, Chilliwack." He said, "It sounds really good. It's got a good sound." And we said, "Yeah, but it's a little town in BC." And he said, "Yeah, but nobody knows it but us." And he said, "Besides, what it means is Valley of Many Streams." Valley of Many Streams is something we could relate to. We like different kinds of music. We put them together and create our music out of it. So we said, "Yeah, that's basically it." But I will tell you,
Yeah.
I found out a few years ago when Claire and I went up to meet the hereditary chief of the Chilliwack people, whom we had never spoken to in all this time, and I felt like we just really need to talk to them. We've been using their name for 50 years. So we went up and the hereditary chief, I've forgotten his name now. He's no longer with us, but really nice guy, sweet guy. Entertained us for quite a while, and we all chatted and everything. But we found out what the name really means, and the name means as far as your canoe can go. So if you think about the Fraser River and the valley and the delta and all the wetlands that were there before they were drained, the native people would be, with their canoes and whatever, could fish all over the place. But once you get to Chilliwack, you hit the real river, and that's a different story. So as far as your canoe can go, it's Chilliwack.
Amazing. And us idiots in Toronto, we know the band before we know the city, right? So we, it's like
That was the plan. That was the plan.
well, it worked. It's like, oh, there's
Oh, good.
there's a Chilliwack is actually a city. Okay, and here's a fun fact for you, Bill. So she's been over here for an episode of my podcast, and she was a longtime CBC journalist, Diana Swain. She told me that she was once Miss Chilliwack.
Oh, really?
So that's a fun fact for you. Diana Swain was once
Thank you.
Miss. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm full of these fun facts. Okay, so maybe there's a couple of songs I just want to like early songs I want to ask you about. So you talked about Lonesome Mary. Did you talk about Lonesome Mary? No, you didn't talk about you have a lot of Mary songs.
I do have a couple. Yeah.
My mom's name is Mary.
Yeah. It's a great name.
It's a great name. Lonesome Mary. I'm going to ask you if you don't mind. Could you share a little more about how Fly at Night comes together? Because a lot of the Gen Xers I was talking to about Chilliwack, Fly at Night is, of course they talk about My Girl, which we'll talk about in a minute, but Fly at Night is the song that they sort of gravitate towards.
Yeah. It's funny that one. A lot of my best songs, or the best songs, yeah, a lot of the best songs I've written just come out like bam. And basically it's there. I could feel it coming. I used to hit the button on my cassette machine, go, and basically the song was there. But not with Fly at Night. Fly at Night, I had da 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 da. No lyrics, just that little melodic fragment, and I loved it. Right? So I started working on it, and it gradually grew. And what it did, it ended up reflecting what anyone who interviews me about wants to talk about what we're doing and how we do it. It's really about the audience. That is where the energy comes from. I mean, we kick it off. We got lots of energy, no problem there. But to really get super high so that we're all just feeling elated, we got to have the audience participating. Their energy feeds us, it's yeah. So that's what that song's about, fly at night, in the morning we land. And when we're flying at night is when we're playing, in the morning we land, in the morning we're back to like planet Earth, but when we're playing, it's not planet Earth. It's something else, it's something out there. And all those things, when we see you there, we feel I can't remember what it says there, but anyway, it's
Well, you better brush up on that. People want to hear that one.
would you mind holding up a sort of placard with the lyrics when we do it?
I might have to put like headphones on. You put a little bug in your ear, and I'll just sing it to you.
Yeah, remember this one, Bill. But yeah, that's to me. We've got a couple songs to do that. Reno does that too,
Yeah.
and it talks about that same thing. And to me, it's the heart. It's the heart of the whole thing.
I'm glad
So
you brought up Reno though too, because Reno's a song I wasn't hearing it on the radio growing up that often, or I didn't remember hearing it. But then I watched like a CBC documentary about like the scene of the Canadian music in the '70s, and you were performing Reno on, I don't know, a CBC program of some sort. And I'm like, what is this song? And then I dive in, and Reno, I think I can honestly say, is probably my favorite Chilliwack song.
That's really cool.
Love it. Like, so anything you want to share about anytime you kick out the rain, like we do a lot of lists around here, like, okay, top 5 rain songs. I'm always going with Reno, man. That's my go-to rain jam.
That's lovely. That there's some story there. I'd love to tell you. When we were in the Collectors, we're playing the West Coast of North America. Like that's basically what we were doing. A lot of San Francisco, LA, all of that, Vancouver, Seattle. Anyway, at that time, I was a psychedelic guitar player. I'd studied classical music. I played jazz, um, very little rock. And so when I got to the Collectors touring up and down the coast like that, I didn't have a clue what blues music was. I did not. I mean, Elvis, okay, he was using blues. Lots of people used blues, and I knew that, but I didn't know the heart and soul, right? So now we're playing the Fillmore Auditorium in San Francisco. It's 1968, April of 1968. We're on a bill with Albert King and the Electric Flag and the Collectors. Okay, so Collectors are doing their sound check. We're doing our sound check in the afternoon. The room's empty, of course. Down at the back, there's one person, a big, tall black guy, and he's smoking a pipe. He's wearing like a suit. It was like I didn't know what that was, and he was listening to us clearly. And at the end of our sound check, he walks up and he says, "Hey, man, I like your sound. What's that amplifier?" And I said, "Well, it's an acoustic amp. You can't buy them. They're not in the stores. This is a prototype. But I'll tell you, the factory's down in LA, and I can give you the information." And he said, "Great." And I told him where he could get it. Um, so that was that, and we then we play our set that night. We don't do very well with the audience. It's just like, wow, this is not happening. I don't know. They don't sort of like the psychedelic music much. I guess they were a blues audience, and then we go up in the dressing room. And you can look down on the stage from this dressing room in the Fillmore. You could look down on the stage and see who's playing, and there's that big black guy who asked me about my amplifier, and that's Albert King. And he's playing like he's killing me. He's playing notes that just go like they just fuck. They go right into your heart, and they're just. I never heard anyone do that with so few notes. He's not being spectacular. But he's getting the audience is going crazy. He's reaching them. So that music really made an impression on me. And Reno, the music for Reno came out of that. So I really got something out of
Wow.
that evening with Albert King, but he did too. And because the interesting thing is, for me, 10 years later, I'm opening an music industry magazine. And there's a picture of Albert King playing in front of his acoustic amplifier, and then Rolling Stone does a whole article on all the great guitar players like Jeff Beck and Jimmy and all these people and their gear. And when they get to Albert King, he always has his acoustic amp. So we both got something out of
Oh,
that evening, right?
love that story. That's amazing. That's awesome. Now, listen, so we're going to get you to the 80s, but on our way to the 80s, can you share what it was like working with Terry Jacks?
Yeah, I love Terry. He he was the guy who taught me less is more. And he was the first person I'd worked with who was very fastidious about sound, about time, about everything being accurate, really accurate in the recording. And some people hated working with him because he made them play their parts over and over and over and over until they got it exactly the way he wanted it. But that's what he was doing. He learned that from the Beach Boys and from the people in LA, and that's the way they recorded. It was pretty serious business. So that was great. And I really liked Terry very much. Yeah, that was a cool thing.
Question for you, my friend Bill, that is it like these albums when they come out in the States, are they all named Chilliwack or what's the deal there? Like how many self-titled albums do you get?
Well, we got two, which is one more than you should
Okay,
have.
because so the Riding High is not called Chilliwack in the U.S.
Well, that's not the title of the
Oh,
album. The
okay.
title of the album is Riding High.
Right. Okay. Just know here we are to correct the record here. There's something on Wikipedia about Sire releasing Riding High as Chilliwack. That would be the third time, right? Like you don't get three self-titled albums. What's going on over there?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
You know something? That's a good question. I didn't know. I don't remember. See, we weren't hardly ever playing in the States anymore. We did a record with Sire because we figured, well, maybe they could get something happening in the States, and they liked one of the songs, so they did it. But I don't recall that they didn't that they called the album Chilliwack. That's crazy.
Well, you might want to look, not that it matters, but it's a fun fact to have three albums come out in the United States, all called Chilliwack, right? It's like George Foreman naming all of his kids George.
So, it's like, so we go like, hey, wake up. It's Chilliwack. Once
Right.
again, Chilliwack.
We're back for more. Okay, but on that note, like we're gonna talk about the early '80s in a moment here. But Fly at Night, I know we keep coming back to Fly at Night, but the fact that that does not go top 40 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, that's bullshit.
Hmm.
Like,
It was number one in St. Louis.
okay,
It was, it had, I'll tell you what it is.
yeah,
The company was called Mushroom Records. They're a small company, and one guy is basically running the whole thing. Shelley Siegel was running the whole thing. He had a few people obviously working with him, but their promotional budgets were not equal to a major label. And when you get in the States, you got to put out dough. You want to have a hit, you got to put out money. You got to put a lot of money. Promotion. That's the thing. So he found that there was a spark in the Midwest, centered in St. Louis. So he put all his money there, I think. I would say that's probably what happened. He tried the rest, but I mean, it's just you can't compete with was Capitol and Warner's and Columbia and all these big companies with tons of money. It's tough. Look at the elections. Like we just had an
yeah,
election, right?
yeah.
Money, man. Money is an important part. Just getting yourself out in front of the people costs money.
Geez, this is the industry real talk that I think we need because there are idiots out there. Not speaking for myself, I'm no idiot, okay, but there are people out there who think, hey, that's a great song. Of course, that's going top 40. What a great song that is. But there's so much more stuff behind the scenes and political and money and support from the label. And you were on so many different labels. It was tough, I suppose, to sustain success with all these different labels.
Yeah, and we were up again, down again, banned.
Yeah.
So it was hard for the labels, and they had to make a commitment. They had to make a big commitment if they were going to stick with us and let us figure it out. We needed that support, and we never got it. The second record wouldn't do much, and they'd go, "Well, we're not doing another one," and we'd find another label.
Right. Right. But in the 80s here, in the 80s though, because, I'm in my head now, I'm hearing gone, 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 gone so long. Like it's going through my head right now here. So why does Chilliwack become a trio?
In the 80s?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
early
yeah.
80s.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that. Because it was much more than a trio
Okay.
prior to that.
Yeah.
And what happened was we did an album called Breakdown in Paradise, which was one of the best sounding records I've ever heard, even if I do say so for us, because it wasn't just me.
Right.
But it was, it's an amazing sounding record. It's really good. And but when it was going, Mushroom was excited about it. We were excited about it. And when it was going out, Mushroom was really going for it. And what happened was Shelley Siegel, who I mentioned earlier, who was the lifeblood of Mushroom, he died. He had an aneurysm and he died instantly.
Ooh,
It was just like bam,
right.
out like a light. And yeah, God bless him. He was a great guy. He was a wonderful guy, but he was gone, and the company was rudderless. It didn't know what it was doing, and it wouldn't support us. It wouldn't let us. They didn't have the money to make another album, and they didn't have the money to promote this one. So no one knows Breakdown in Paradise. So. But we had songs coming, and one of them was Gone, and we needed to record. So what we did was we were in the studio. We were making a Headpins album at the same time because Brian had the side project of the Headpins, and in the boxes in the studio with the two inch tape in the big boxes it says Gone, Headpins.
Oh,
We were not allowed to record as Chilliwack, so we just said, okay,
right.
well, we're gonna cover our tracks this way, right? And that's what we did. So Okay, so now we don't have the money to support a large band. We got Brian, Ab, and me, and that's what we do. We go, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to just stick with this. We can afford this many people right now, and this is what we're going to do. And we made those records that way.
And these are your biggest, at least in the United States, these are your biggest successes. You're now a top 40 band because My Girl, Gone, 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 that's a parentheses jam, by the way. That goes to number 22 in December 1981.
Yeah, it actually went to number 19 with a bullet.
Honestly, I'm making edits right now. This is the real talk here. Okay, so, and then I Believe, What You're Gonna Do When I'm Gone. These are big hits on Canada and the USA. But now I need you to tell me a little bit more about, because you teased this off the top, that you didn't want to release My Girl, Gone, Gone, Gone. Of course, it's your biggest US hit, because that's how it works. The jam you don't want to release as a single is going to be your biggest hit. But tell me a little bit more maybe about writing it and what you thought of it when you recorded it, and were you surprised that it was your biggest US hit?
Gone, 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 she's been gone so long, she's been gone, gone, gone so long. Gone, 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 she's been gone so long, she's been gone, gone, gone so long. Gone, 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 she's been gone so long, she's been gone, gone, gone so long. Gone, 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 she's been gone so long, gone, 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 gone so long. Ever since she left me, I sure feel all alone. A little misunderstanding, I can't get her on the telephone. Hanging out down the main street, living in a different world. Standing around with the gang on the corner, talking about my girl, my girl. She was the world to me. She's gone away across the sea. My girl is just a memory. She's been so long away. Gone, 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 she's been gone so long. She's been gone, gone, gone so long. Gone, 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 she's been gone so long. Gone, 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 gone so long. Gone, 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 she's been gone so long. She's been gone, gone, gone so long. She didn't have to leave me. She didn't have to run. She didn't have to go without a word to anyone. I hope she's doing alright. Got no way to know unless she gets to hear this song, hear it on the radio. My girl, she was the world to me. She's gone, and that's a tragedy. My girl is just a memory. She's been so long away.
I apologize for the earworm. No, I don't. Much love to Ridley Funeral Home. Love working with Brad Jones. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. You know where to go if you have old cables, old electronics. Palma Pasta. Much love to the Petrucci family. Authentic Italian food. Delicious. Thank me later. Nick Iones. We just dropped 2 fresh episodes of Building Success, and one features yours truly. Moneris. Yes, We Are Open is the name of the podcast. Season 8 episodes are dropping now. And do you know what I drink when I'm recording Toronto Mic'd? I drink Great Lakes beer. Shout out to GLB. We'll be seeing you guys on June 26th for TMLX 19. Can't wait to drink my fresh craft beer and enjoy my Palma Pasta. More with Bill coming up, including a Tears Are Not Enough mind blow. Brace yourselves.
Gone,
Not really. In the end, no, not really. And I told you the story about the woman dancing in the street, the flag. I
Right.
mean, I started to realize this really connected with people, and it had a great groove, and they loved the groove, and that's why she was dancing.
Yeah.
And Gone 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 is like infectious.
Hmm.
So, so all of that, and I mean, I didn't. The reason I was unhappy with it was the lyric, not the Gone Gone part, but the lyric of the verses. I didn't like the lyric of the verses. That's all. And I felt like, it was a bit throwaway. And but just it goes to show what I know, not much. I mean, when it came to getting a hit, it worked just fine.
I'm going to quote Rolling Stone at the time, okay? This is a quote. At their best, Chilliwack was the finest Canadian rock band, out-rocking BTO and outrighting Burton Cummings. So that's from Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah, yeah, they did say that. Yeah, it was very sweet to see that. You don't get that very often.
How many Junos do you have?
Just one.
And that's for Best Producer for Opus X.
Yeah,
Where do you keep it? Like, do you keep it on display?
it's on my piano.
Okay, good for you. I'm just making sure you're proud of that Juno and you got it on display. I don't want to find out it's in a
Yeah.
box in some basement or something.
No, no, and I in latter years I got the Songwriter of the Year award from Songwriters Association of Canada. I'm very proud of that one because that was what I was really working on, and production was the other thing that we really see. In those days, we hardly toured much at all. Like it's not like the band we got now. That's all we do. We just play live.
Right.
But in those days, we were making records, and production was what we were doing. And Brian and I were really, I mean, we would do punch-ins with tape that were like little tiny bits that were not correct that we were fixing. And when you're punching in with tape, as you would know because you've probably done it, you have to anticipate the punch-in point. It's not exactly when you hit it. When you hit it, that's not where it goes into record. It goes into record an instant after that. And you have to feel that instant, right? That you have to anticipate. And we would do that. I mean, we just asked the engineer to just step aside and we would go in and we'd do these tight punches because we really knew how to do it. So, and also I was studying sound. I was walking around I had these binaural headphones that had microphones in them, and I was recording sounds. And I would drop microphones down into garbage cans, and I got so I could hear so well that when I was walking across Kitts Point Park through the grass, I could hear the grass, my shoes going through the grass, and when I walked past a tree, I could hear it reflecting off the tree. And we're hearing all of that. Everyone hears it, but they don't notice it. So, when you're miking an instrument and you put the mic right up against the instrument and you go, why doesn't it sound good? It sounded so great before. Well, you're not hearing the room anymore. The room is the sound.
Right.
The guitar is starting it, but the room's finishing it. And that's what you hear. And you take that guitar and you put it in a clothes closet and play it, you're not going to like it so much, right? And that's what it sounds like when you put a mic right on it, unless you really know what you're doing. So these kinds of details, we spent a lot of time with these things, understanding them, figuring them out. It was great. I really, really enjoyed it a lot. It was kind of scientific. It was fun.
Amazing. Like, so you referenced the fact you were kind of a recording act at the time, and I heard you telling that to Dick Clark in 1982. What do you remember about being on American Bandstand with Dick Clark back in 82?
Not much, except it was pretty awkward. I just, the interview was the only live thing that happened. We were miming, and so, but we insisted on having amps with lights turned on and cords plugged in and all of that. And we actually rehearsed the song in the hotel room the night before to make sure our mime was accurate. And then they had to have the monitors blasting so that it sounded to us like the band was playing. And then you could mime it successfully. That's how we did it. And yeah, Dick Clark was really nice. I mean, obviously he was nice to everybody, I think. And that was nice.
I'm watching it. In fact, I'm gonna drop it in right now.
Looks tired.
Yes, he's been working very hard.
Why is he the only one of you who looks tired?
I don't know. I don't know how he does it.
Could we get you a bed?
I don't know.
Bill Henderson, please let me put you forefront and then introduce everybody as you did. Was it a year ago?
It was, I think, November, yeah.
All right, who do we have over here?
It's Brian McLeod.
All right, Brian, nice to see you. Well, are you rested? Are you all right?
I don't think so.
What have you guys been doing anyway? Were you partying?
Well, no, not too much. A couple of beer last night.
I thought you were shooting a film, weren't you, or a video?
Yes, we are, yeah.
All right, see, I give you a straight answer, you give me a twisted thing. All right, the gentleman in the rear.
Joe Franco.
Joe, nice to welcome you here. Thank you very much. And lastly,
Ab Bryant.
Ab, nice to have you with us. Now you can face home.
Okay.
See, this is a very strange show. We don't have any curtain, we don't have any angles. We shoot all around the place so you can work any angle you want. Is it true you go out on a boat to do this stuff?
Yeah, we've done that for the last 2 albums. Went out in Brian's boat and out across the sea to the Gulf Islands outside of Vancouver. Idyllic surroundings and.
Oh, wait a minute! You got to stop a minute. You carry all of this stuff with you?
No, we take a piano and a couple acoustic guitars.
This is just where you put it together and create it.
Yeah.
You don't record it there.
No. We put it on a cassette tape to remember what we read.
Ab, where do you do your recording?
In Vancouver. It's a studio called Little Mountain Sound.
Are you prejudiced for Canadian sounds since you're all Canadian, or does it just happen to be convenient?
It's very convenient, and it's a great studio.
Fair enough. Is it possible that somebody is going to be seeing you guys out on the road soon? Are you back on the road?
Yeah, we're working on our live show. We've just actually been a recording band for 2 years, really. Yeah. And we've put a band together, 6-piece band. We're going to be on the road in about 2 weeks. We'll be in America January, February.
You know, it's funny, all my Canadian friends don't call it America because that's all of us. You mean in the States side?
Yeah, the U.S.
The U.S.
I just said that for you. Really.
Sure you did. You say that up there, you get your head handed to you, or a United States person does, in any case. Right. Where will you be going? Do you know the cities yet?
In the U.S., no, I don't. No, I will start in the Midwest, that much I can say. And I think we'll make it pretty well all around this time, I hope so.
Hope so. Wish you Godspeed, good travels.
So now people have heard it. And I found it interesting. Like, I think you referred to the United States as America. And Dick Clark is like, America's the whole, like he's calling, America's like North America or whatever. But it was just kind of a little bit interesting how, I mean, we all refer to United States as America, but it was an interesting moment anyway. But it was great that you were on American Bandstand in '82. That's very cool.
But like you say, an interesting moment, especially in the context of now.
Well, I don't know how political you want to get, but are you planning any trips to the United States in 2025?
No, I haven't played in the United States for I don't know how long, maybe 20 years, that kind of thing. We did a few with this band in the early days. We went down, did a couple festivals and stuff, but I just didn't want to do it anymore. I hate crossing the border. I don't like all the hassle. I don't like the feeling of, what are you doing here?
Right.
And then when you show them your money, they go, what's this? What's that? I don't like that. I never liked that. We are who we are. You know, we went down, we spent almost a year living in LA. The Collectors did. I know I'm dropping into a different time frame again, but
let's go back.
But, you know, it was great because we learned so much about recording, and because we were in the studios that made all the great records, so of course we're going to learn from that. And we also learned what the American audience wanted. You know, you get a feel for what it is they want, and you start to play that way, and they respond. And you go, "Oh yeah, that's it. That's where it is," and all that was good. But I started to realize that I could lose my family if I just stayed down there doing that. And I didn't want that. And also, I'm not American. I don't feel like an American. I feel like a Canadian. When I go home, I'm really glad to be here. This is where I belong, right? So we came back. And what I'm giving you is the introduction to a California girl that I do most nights. We came back to Canada because we were in California, loved it and everything, but this is where we belong. So.
Well, we're glad you came back, man. This is where you belong. I'm always glad. There's some big bands that stayed, and I'm thinking of like Rush, although drummer Neil went a little bit to California for a little bit, but Geddy still lives here in Toronto, and Alex lives in Toronto. There's a lot of the Guess Who, they stayed. Like some of these big bands stayed, and I'm just glad you stayed. Glad you stayed. Now tell me, okay, quick question here, because on this program, listeners know I ask lots of questions about Tears Are Not Enough, and I couldn't help but notice there's no bill on Tears Are Not Enough. Were you asked to participate in that charity single?
They wanted me to play rhythm guitar. I said no.
Why did you say no?
I really don't know. I don't remember. It was. I guess I didn't really grok what it was supposed to be, what it was going to be, and I probably felt that like I should be singing. I don't know. I'm not
yeah,
sure.
you're like, give me one of the, I just mentioned Getty. I have in my hand here, again, people are probably listening, but I have in my hand what they handed out that day, Tears Are Not Enough, and I can see the it's a David Foster production, and you can see the roster, Bruce Allen and everybody who's involved with this. I always thought, of course, Bill from Chilliwack would be a part of this, but it sounds like maybe at the time you felt you're better than just playing rhythm guitar. Give me a solo, man.
I think I might have felt that way. Yeah, to be totally honest.
So, do you regret that? Do you wish you were a part of that?
Oh, no, it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's just I thought probably everyone's career, but I know my own is full of things that didn't go the way they should have gone. They could have gone much better. And if Bruce Allen had been my manager, he would have insisted that I go there and play the goddamn rhythm guitar. But he wasn't. And I made my own decisions. Yeah, they weren't all right.
Hey, so I had Randy Bachman on this show, and he told me Bruce was pissed at him. I guess he had left Bruce's manager or something like that, and Bruce Allen was pissed at him and blocked him from being a part of Tears Are Not Enough. So the great Randy Bachman didn't even get an invitation to this recording.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And I tried to get, I don't know if you know how you know Bruce or whatever, but because I know all you West Coast Canadians all stick together, right? But Bruce Allen politely declined his invitation to come on Toronto Mic'd and talk about this all. So.
Well, Bruce has always been a very dynamic cat, right? A very dynamic guy. So, he has his opinions, and we all do, but he gets his out in public, and I felt like he dissed the band back in the day a few times. And one of the times was someone asked him in an interview that was about BTO, said, well, what do you think about Chilliwack? And he said, Chilliwack couldn't carry BTO's equipment.
Wow.
He said some things, right? So finally, one day in the 80s, when I was totally released from all my contracts, I walked into his office and said, I want to talk to you. And I sat down and I said, stop dissing us in the press. That's enough of that, right? He goes, oh, well, did I do that? Oh.
I love that you called him out on that. That's cool too.
Yeah.
And
then I went down the hall and gave someone else shit.
Okay, so speaking of giving people shit, so in 1988, I was about to say you disbanded the PTA, but no. Okay, so you disbanded Chilliwack in 88. So why did you call it quits in 88?
Yeah. Okay. It basically, when Brian left the group, then I made one more Chilliwack album, and nothing happened with it because in this particular case, when it was going out, the record company went bankrupt. They had spent all their money on headpins, and it was a small record company. They went bankrupt. They couldn't do anything with our record. Once again, that happened, right? And And so I went, okay, I've had enough of this BS in the studio. I just want to go and play for the people, and I want small rooms where I can feel the people. I don't want to just have a spot in my face and darkness out there. I want the people. So I got an agent, and he booked us in clubs across Canada. In 80s, clubs were not at all the same as they were in the 70s. Right. In the 80s, it was all about getting laid, right? That's what the clubs were about. So the people there, I mean, they weren't listening. They weren't listening. They were figuring out who they're going to spend the night with, and that's what it was about, you know. And I mean, not everybody, but you know, that was the overall thing. And it was an ugly experience. And so I got to the end of that. I went, peace. I've had enough. I'm just gonna go out. I'm gonna play my guitar. I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna do solo stuff. So I did that, and I realized I had played a folk festival. And I went, folk festivals. I've got the vibe in the 80s that the rock festivals had in the 70s. They were about peace. They're about poetry. They're about, you know, they were like artistic, and people were there to dig the music, you know, just enjoy, you know, instead of like kind of thing. It was, you know, so folk festivals were like that. So I started going playing folk festivals, and then I played folk clubs, and I learned so much doing that. I got to tell you, it was a valuable experience, because for the first time, what I learned was how to talk to an audience, because for the first time, I didn't have band members behind me whom I was representing when I spoke. Right. I always had this feeling of responsibility, like if they didn't like what I said, then I'd have to change it. Stupid. But anyway, that's the way I felt about it. And when I was on my own, I could be free. I could just say what I wanted to say, and I did. And I found that, oh yeah, I can connect with these people, right? So I learned that. That was great. And then I joined up with Sherry Ulrich and Roy Forbes. We had UHF, and that was kind of a folk trio, you could call it. Although we were sort of, our music went in a number of directions, but so that was all good, you know. But I'll tell you what, after 10 years that had gone by, I missed the drums and bass big time. Right. I wanted the groove. I want to feel that. You know, I want to play against that feeling that the drums and bass create. So I put the band back together.
Put the band back together in, I guess, 97. And here we are in 2025. You've decided this is the final tour to remind, because, you know, Canadians are listening, but primarily GTA here. So it's Massey Hall on May 22nd. So May 22nd, Massey Hall, great venue, great band, farewell tour. Hear all the hits and more. You go to gonegone.com, because that's the coolest URL I've heard in a long time. Gonegone.com. Buy your tickets. Last call, as they say. Now, I'm going to close, if you don't mind, with what I think is a bit of a mind blow to people listening. My wife, who is an elder millennial, I'd call my wife. So she's too young to be considered Gen X like me, but elder millennial. She's a big fan of a Canadian band called West End Girls. You ever heard of West End Girls?
Yes, my daughter Camille was in that band. Yeah. I produced a little bit of their vocals. Yeah.
Okay, so on Cam Gordon on this program, I believe it was an FOTM cast, Cam Gordon and Tyler Campbell, he played some West End Girls, because we like to remember some bands of yesteryear that maybe we haven't thought of in a little bit, and we played a little bit. Not Like Kissing You is a big jam. There's a bunch of big jams here, but We Belong Together was one of my wife's favorite. Are You Sexin' Me? Great title there. But I think that's a mind blow. I don't know if everybody knows that your daughter is the singer in West End Girls.
Yeah. Yeah, Camille. Yeah, Camille. I mean, they sounded pretty good. They sounded really good. She is my vocal coach right now. She is a pro vocal coach, and teaches lots of people, and sometimes people coming in, you know, from that are actual stars that are having to do something in Vancouver and need a little help. And she's worked with them, and she's really helped me a lot. Been good.
I love that you get to work with your daughter. I think so. Any chance she joins you on stage at Massey Hall? Is she even going to be there? What's the a little bring her on for a little West End Girls reunion there?
No, Sorry.
Not in the cards, okay, because I know they
Not in the
broke up in
cards.
'94,
Yeah.
which is I just checked my calendar a lot longer ago than it feels. It feels to me. Don't you get that weird sensation like, oh, this happened in '94? Oh, that was almost a decade ago, and then somebody reminds you, like, no, that's not true. We're at over 30 years, and it's a bit of a mind blow.
Yeah, it is indeed. Yeah. Yeah. They both Saffron and Camille, my other daughter is Saffron, and the two of them do some background vocal work for various people, and they've actually done some for Chilliwack when we recorded a song called Take Back This Land. And they sound amazing. They are Bob Rock hires them for when he's in Vancouver, recording and he needs background vocals. A lot of times he'll hire the Henderson girls, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, you must be a proud papa.
I am. And I'll tell you another thing. I just reminded myself that that the Take Back This Land that was in 2015.
Yeah.
We've changed the lyrics now, and it's Stand Up for This Country. So we play it. We've been playing it live. And the first time we played it as Take Back This Land in Calgary, in the first date we had in Calgary, and the people liked it. It was okay. But I realized it wasn't really connecting with them. And so I changed the lyrics to we're going to stand up for this country. We're going to stand up for this land. And they just stood up. It was great.
Will we hear that at Massey Hall?
You darn right you will.
And
Yeah.
will we hear a cover of Not Like Kissing You by West End Girls?
No, but you will hear a cover of Recess Monkeys, Gone, Gone, Gone.
You know, Bill, having a wonderful chat with you today, I got to say, you sound far too healthy and strong to be on your farewell tour. You might want to do another farewell tour in about 5 years.
The Resurrection Tour.
You know, that's the move, right? Because, the farewell tour gets a lot of publicity and buzz, and then you just do it again in 5 years.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got to figure it out.
All right, thanks for this. Thanks for your time. This was awesome.
Hey, Mike.
Can't wait to, tell the listenership to buy tickets to Massey Hall, gonegone.com. I love this very much. Thank you so much.
Mike, I really enjoyed talking to you and meeting you, and yeah, I really appreciate your work. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,690th show. Go to torontomike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. And much love to all who made this possible. Again, that is Great Lakes Brewery. Delicious, fresh craft beer. Palma Pasta. Authentic, delicious Italian food. Maneris. Inspiring stories in the podcast Yes, We Are Open. Toronto Maple Leafs baseball. History will be made on Sunday. TMLX 18 will be there 1:30 p.m. beyond the left field fence at Christie Pitts. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Building Toronto Skyline and Building Success from Nick Ieni's, and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all next week. Bye.